Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Digital Anglophone Fiction. This is an endeavor taken by me to help students who didn't attend last week lecture to have something concrete for revision. The title on my second lecture is Rhys, the Writer and the Human Being. Before I started my lecture, I asked your classmates what did we see last time, and I was really content with the feedback. Some of you said that we covered the theoretical angle through which we will study Jean Rhys White's Sargasso namely post-colonialism. I also asked them what's post-colonialism. Some of them said that since we covered colonialism with Heart of Darkness in the first semester, in the second semester we will deal with text where the stereotypes about different people are corrected, revised, and brought to light. Then I asked your classmates, what does the term white Creole trigger in their minds? Some of them said white Creole is equal with white Negro or white cockroach. And then I asked them, what does this mean? And some of them said that white Creoles are different from whites and are different from blacks because they lost their status and their position as whites, okay? And they are more or less like black Negroes and different because only of the skin color. Then I started my lecture about Rhys' placement as a writer. So here we can say like character, like author. Both writer and character in White Sargasso Sea are suffering from what we call an identity crisis. Critics on both sides of the Atlantic find it hard to place Jean Rhys, while European and American critics place her among English writers. Caribbean writers considers her as a West Indian writer. However, critics on both sides of the Atlantic were amazed with her craft in reassessing the white Creole mixed identity. Her reassessment is meant to undermine the lies perpetrated and maintained about the Creole and the West Indies. Here I asked your classmates about the position of being neither white nor Creole and yet both. And some of you said it is a very enriching position, okay? Some of them said that no, it is a very difficult position. And here, to make it simpler, I asked, what if you were half Tunisian, half American? How will you feel? Some of you said that you will cling to the American side and that you will enjoy the privileges of being white and of being American, okay? And only Rhys said that she will remain true to herself and to her Tunisian identity. And yeah, I felt happy when I heard those words. Okay, so here I wanted you to feel the intricacy of being neither this and nor that, and yeah, the mixture of white and black sides. Then I moved to hear the opinion of Rhys on this matter, and she confidently said to a creator an interview that the mad wife in Jane Eyre has always interested her, that she was convinced that Charlotte Bronte must have something against the West Indies, and this drove Rhys mad. She was angry about it. So why does Bronte portray Bertha Mason as a lunatic, horrible being? Okay, why does she represent her as a dreadful creature? So Rhys wants to know the reasons behind such misrepresentation, and she is determined to give Antoinette Cosway, within the scope of white surrogacy, a voice. Okay, with Rhys, Antoinette Cosway becomes visible. Some critics went so far and claimed that Antoinette Cosway is a feminist. Okay, she's even an ardent feminist, more than Jane Eyre. So not only does Rhys vindicate the white Creole in the novel, but also in some sense the white Creole herself in real life. As if Jean Rhys is saying to the white Creole, wear your identity as a badge, be proud of who you are, and stand up for your rights. Okay, as you can easily infer, being a white Creole is a complex fate for both Rhys and Antoinette Cosway. Yet it offers both of them a unique position to understand the dynamics of across racial and cultural relations in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, or in the Antilles. I have already mentioned in my first lecture that the Caribbean has been referred to as the West Indies as the Anglophone Caribbean, the Francophone Caribbean, the Antilles, the Lesser Antilles, and the Greater Antilles. And all these labels show that the Caribbean is the site of cross-racial and cross-cultural contacts. So both Jean Rhys and Antoinette grow up in a society where the categories white, black, colonizer, colonized, master, slave, with their respective traditional relationships, were changing. In fact, a thematic concern central to the novel is the blurring of racial, national, and cultural polarities to grasp the complexity of the Creole identity. In so doing, the white Creole discovers where she fits and where she belongs. And right from the start of the novel, on page 15, Antoinette knows ahead where she is standing. She says in a diary-like manner, they say, when trouble comes close ranks, and so the white people did. But we were not in their ranks. So Antoinette Cosway is fully aware that after the death of her father, after the loss of his fortune, she is no longer in the ranks of white people. Okay? And then she adds some few details. The Jamaican ladies had never approved of my mother. Okay? Why is that? Because she's pretty like pretty self. Christophine, the Nounou, says to Antoinette. Okay, so you see the impasse? Antoinette's family is neither accepted by the whites, since they don't have money, nor accepted by the blacks, because they are beautiful, they are different, they don't have a black skin, they are Creoles. Okay, and then Antoinette explains that her mother was her father's second wife, far too young for him, they thought, and were still a Martinique girl. And last time I introduced you to the peculiar situation of Martinique and Guadeloupe. They are départements d'outre-mer, and they are still under the administration of France. So this makes things worse for Antoinette and her mother. Then all the glory of the past is gone, and now we have a white Creole family who are suffering from poverty, from denigration. They are looked down. They are not accepted. Only Mr. Lateral is their good friend, but the rest, they look down at them. They don't perceive them as whites, and they don't perceive them as blacks. Okay, so here Antoinette is fully aware that she doesn't belong to the whites, and she doesn't belong to the blacks either. So she is trying to piece together these two sides by entertaining relationships with both whites and blacks. Okay, to critic moral, white surrogacy traces the development of Antoinette, and this is what I called the Bildungsroman tradition, and I have already explained this term, saying that it is a coming of age of a character. With the Irish writer James Joyce, it was the coming of age of the male character, but with Rhys, it's the coming of age of a white Creole character. Okay, you see how Jean Rhys' genius manifests. Okay, so the narrative portrays a central consciousness struggling to fulfill her desires and reaching out for understanding from others. This central organizing consciousness, moral states, contributes much to the overall impression of oneness and wholeness. And here let me ask you, do we perceive Antoinette as parts or as a whole? Will we study Antoinette in a holistic, total way? Or we will divide our novel into one part where Antoinette deals with her white identity, or the white side of her identity, and then we will move to the way she deals with the black side of her identity. At the end, we will figure out whether her attempt is partially successful, partially non-successful, or what. This is food for thought. You have to find out for yourself, and you have to bear this question in mind till the last session. Okay? So Rhys, in brief, renders the struggle of the white Creole artistically. And here I asked you, I stopped at every single sentence in my lecture and I asked, in order for you to familiarize yourself with the text. Some of you said that this is rendered artistically when Antoinette moves to Jamaica for her honeymoon, and in her dreams she fantasizes about London. Other students said that Antoinette drinks both red wine and liqueur, which is a local drink in Jamaica. Antoinette wears traditional Jamaican clothes and she can be dressed up, okay? So all of this is good, but you have to continue digging deeper. So Antoinette Cosway's struggle takes the form of a journey, and here I asked you, what's the meaning of journey? The majority said it's a trip, but in the diction of literature we say it's a quest that you have to take in order to come to terms with your identity, and it is related to the Bildungsroman tradition. Throughout this journey, not only does the white Creole struggle to survive in a cross-cultural world, but perhaps more importantly, she thrives on her Creoleness to deal with the white and black sides of her identity. So this is it. We covered the first lecture, Jean Rhys, the writer and the human being. There are parallels between character and writer. For next time, I want you to read the passages from Charlotte Brontë Jane Eyre in order to see how Bertha Mason is represented within Jane Eyre and the changes in Antoinette, with Antoinette Cosway and with Rhys White Sargasso Sea. And you have to find out the meaning of White Sargasso Sea for me for next time. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.